Welcome to Screencast 25 for the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, Introduction to Vectorworks. This is task 4, so you'll be following me as I do this 3-tread tutorial, which is one I've done for a long time now. You will send me the Vectorworks file and the PDF at the end of this, and the workflow that we're doing just now is pretty much the workflow that we will be doing for the final task, although it'll be slightly more complicated, but this is a fairly simple version of it. So I'm in 1 to 25 scale. I've made sure I'm in 1 to 25. I've made a 200 by 200 grid because my treads and my risers are 200. So it means I can just start at 0, 0 there, and I can draw 200, 200, 200, 200, 200, 200, 600, and back. So zoom in a little bit, and then I'll extrude that by a meter, and that gives me my the model that we're going to be working with. That's all the drawing done there on design layer 1. Okay. I've made a sheet layer. You can copy the sheet layer from the previous tutorial when we did sheet layers, or you can go back onto that again and create the sheet layer organization. But the sheet layer there, if I edit that, it was page setup, 1 printer page, A4 essentially, and then I went back and I did the if I click on that, click on the sheet there, then we should have the sheet layer there, the empty sheet layer with the 5mm border and some information down in the title block, exactly the same way as we did before. Go back to the design layer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be creating viewports, and remember we had multiple viewports of the same thing, of your name, in an earlier screencast, so I'm just doing the same thing here. What I'll do is top plan. So the top plan will be my first viewport, so I'm going to do view, create viewport. This time I'm going to uncheck these two little tick boxes here, which were the little the information below each of the viewports, because it's going to make my drawing quite messy if I have those. So I'm going to uncheck them. We're going to create on the layer sheet 1, which is 3 treads, is the only sheet layer I have. We don't have anything complicated to do with layers that I showed you before. It's a top plan view and it's wireframe, so that's fine. And that plops that top plan view right there in the middle of the viewport. Again, we can look over here. It's a 1 to 25 plan viewport. If you don't know what third angle projection is, I suggest you type that into Google, called third angle projection, which is a way of drawing, technical drawing, a methodology and a style which we follow in the UK. I think the States use a first angle projection, which is slightly different, but I won't confuse you with that. Third angle projection is what we use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Command D, which is, remember, the duplicate command, and that places another viewport, another top plan viewport, and I'm making sure that I've got things all lined up. So it's actually sometimes easier to pull it away and then grab the end, hover it over, then pull it down. I don't want that to be that's the top, to this one following third angle projection will be the front. So I don't need to go back and go back to the drawing again. I can just change the view here from top plan to front. It'll look exactly the same. For a 3-tread, it'll look exactly the same, which is maybe a little bit confusing. I can duplicate that viewport and I'll place it out to the right. So I can align it up there, place it out to the right, and I won't have it as the front. I will have it, unsurprisingly, as the right. So that view there is the right view of the side. So that's the front, that's the right view, and that's the top. And then I'll duplicate that viewport, take it to the other side, and again, unsurprisingly, I don't want that to be the right, I want that to be the left. And that's third angle projection. So the way that the third angle projection works is, if you could imagine we cut this out of a card, this is the front face, these two faces would fold back, and that, if I put that right on top, that would fold back as well. So this is the that would fold back, and these would fold and fold, and that would allow us to make up a kind of an object from card or something like that. So it's just a convention. Everything must be lined up when you come to presenting your Vectorworks file. I want to see everything lined up. See that red dotted line? Everything's lined up there, and the vertical lines here. See the green line? It's all lined up. Critically important. Let's do one more. Let's do a duplicate that. Well, it doesn't matter which one you duplicate really, because you're only duplicating the fact it's a viewport, not what it is. And I'll change that to right isometric. So we can have that down there as well to help our viewer understand. That's our technical drawing laid out. What we want to do now is annotate, so dimension things. So double click, and I'll use my constrained dimension because there's no angled lines here, and I'll pop in the height, the width of it, sorry. I got that wrong there. I had chain dimension on, I wasn't paying attention. I'll just zoom back in there again to make it obvious. So, ensuring you have the right tool, single constrained dimension, click, 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 done. Exit viewport. It's really important to viewport to dimension within the correct viewport. I'm going to dimension this one using the chain dimension. So this one here, I will choose the chain dimension this time. And just for, I probably wouldn't do this in reality, but just for practice, I'll click, click, and double click. Now what I was meaning by was dimensioning within the right viewport. If I'm not paying attention, again I'm going to do something wrong here, and I get carried away and start dimensioning this, and then I exit, then you'll see that that 1000 along the bottom there is associated with that viewport. That's wrong. It's one of the first things I check when you send me your files, so make sure that you've only annotated within the correct viewport. That one has no business in that, because we're only dimensioning this left one here. For this one, I'm going to double click, go in and annotate, and again just for practice, just because I'm going to do the baseline dimension. In fact, we'll do the top, so we'll do the baseline dimension this way, so we'll do that, and double click there, and exit. And this one here, rather than leaving it wireframe, we can scroll down and see where it says background render. So wireframe will give that shaded, and remember, when it has the zigzag around the outside of it, it just needs updated. If you look at that and it's a little bit fuzzy, I think in one of the previous tutorials I mentioned that we'll explain why that's fuzzy. Well, here it is. This is the explanation. If you go back to Tools, Organization, and into the Sheet layer and Edit, back here we had a raster rendering DPI dots per inch of 72. Pop that up to something like 300, which is way more than it needs, and then come back out and update, and you'll have a nice crisp isometric drawing there. What we're going to do now is I'm going to do one extra little bit. We're going to go back into the design layer. I'm going to spin that round to a right isometric view, and I'm going to draw a circle. I'm going to set align working plane with current view. So if I click that, the working plane is now glued to the back of my screen rather than the floor that the treads are sitting on. It will make sense in a second. If I draw a circle now, the circle is there and not on the ground, on the stage floor, on the piece of paper, if you like. The reason I'm doing that is because I can then do view, create viewport, and it says, do you want to use the viewport's crop, or do you want to use the object as a crop? Yes, I do. and I'm going to call this one zoom in. Zoom in, and I'm going to go OK and put it on the same. So what it's done there is it's zoomed in on the detail on that corner, and it used the circle as a crop. I can change this, make it even bigger, like that. Again, might seem a bit weird at the moment, but you can see. Let's give that a shaded render as well, and update. So view, update all viewports. If I don't want to go and click the update button, just move that one out the way. The reason I was doing that is because I want to go back and show you one more thing. So if I go back into my design layer again, so I've got a different scaled viewport there, remember, with some sort of detail. Say I decided to change my my set of treads and give them a filleted edge. So we'll do filleted edge along these edges here. So we've got treads with a rounded, that was on the back there, treads with a rounded nose on them, probably very, very dangerous. But again, that's that. So I've done the 3 rounded noses. If I go back to my sheet layer again, you'll notice that the left, the right, the front and the top, and these 2 rendered viewports, view, update all viewports, have all changed. So it doesn't matter, though. That is one of the main reasons for drawing in Vectorworks, the fact that if you change anything back in your design layer again, it will pull the information back into your technical drawing again. So hopefully that was a good demo. It was a little fast, I know, but you can go back and you can pause parts of it. But what I want you to do is to do exactly what I've done just now, an A4 sheet layer with a set of treads on it, with rounded noses on them, dimensioned, send the Vectorworks file and an exported PDF to me. And once I've okayed that, we can go on and do the last task, which is in the next tutorial. I'll see you then.